creating a more inclusive curriculum, taking into consideration all ethnicities, not just focusing on the Eurocentric curriculum that we have in the education system at this current present moment in time?
I think it's really about reshaping and restructuring the education system so that perspective and experiences of everyone, not just the majority, is reflected. And I think it's really important that it's reflected in not just the curriculum, but in terms of staff, in terms of the reading list. Like, I think there's so many aspects of decolonising and the education. But yeah, I think it's just to make sure that everyone is reflected and everyone feels like they can see themselves in what they're learning.
Decolonising education means being aware of how knowledge is produced or constructed, so the fact that it's constructed in particular historical and geographical contexts and within a sort of particular power dynamic, I suppose.
It means we have to include everybody. I see it more widely. I just don't see it as pertaining to races. I think decolonising is a movement that makes everybody feel included, people from a protected characteristic.
So when I think about decolonisation, I suppose it means for me finding out what I don't know, what I'm missing. I'm very conscious that the subjects I teach have been developed in a very Eurocentric, Western way. And so decolonising it for me means bringing in different voices, different ideas, reimagining what my subject might look like if you decolonised it.
To me, decolonising education means exposing students to different perspectives, especially perspectives in the global south, and kind of introducing them the ideas of empire and imperialism and how it continues to shape the world we have today.
To me, it's about identifying how colonialism has changed our perceptions of learning and how we learn those kind of systems of learning. And it's going beyond that Eurocentric perspective, and it's embracing those different types of learning systems.
Well, I grew up in a colony, born in Hong Kong, so it's actually very interesting for me to talk about decolonising the education. I also particularly find it important to explain it from different person's perspective, because we have members at the university who came from colonialized background, also members from university who do not come from colonialized background. So when we talk about it, it's really about how we unpick the concept of it to reflect with different lived experience, and at the same time emphasizing the core message about it is to having different voices from different people into our education and discussion.
我觉得去殖民化教育指的是批判性的反思教育在被殖民所带来的影响，受到了一些影响。那么怎么去减少这些影响，然后带来更多的包容性和多样性。
I think it's really important for the University of Birmingham for various reasons. Okay? One, because where it's located. Look at the population around us. So diverse, so multicultural. You know, variations in race, culture, economic status. Everything is different, so why not? You know, it's really important. Number two, history of Birmingham itself and the, people who are behind the university. It's got colonial history. We need to acknowledge that, don't we? We need to say, this is what our roots are. We're moving forward. And therefore, it's really important for such a massive red brick university to be very active in decolonising the curriculum.
So I think if we look at the university as a whole, one thing that should and could be done is looking at its history of Joseph Chamberlain and accounting for that and understanding his role in this colonial ideology. And I think that's a kind of an act of transparency that the university should do to make clear if it's true in its commitment to decolonise.
Decolonising education is hugely important for University of Birmingham. It's working very hard to try and be more progressive with how it approaches the curriculum, how diverse the topics are, and I also think it's going to be an ongoing initiative, but I think it needs to continue to carry on to challenge not just what we're teaching but the way in which we're teaching as well.
I feel like when I'm walking through campus I can see it is on the University of Birmingham agenda, as there is a range of diversity on campus. When I'm walking around I see loads of different ethnicities, I see loads of different cultures, so I see that University of Birmingham is doing something about this. In regards to decolonising efforts, I do see different societies holding different events which is open for all people, not just that particular group, so I think that's one way that there's definitely efforts in making this change.
I suspect that across the university there is a lot of quite innovative work going on, but that it's probably in pockets and that maybe it's not shared as widely as it could be.
I would say right now, if I had to think who can I go to talk about issues of racism, discrimination, it would be my academic tutor, I guess. But he's also, with no disrespect, he's also a white man. So I feel like it's not something that I can really relate to. So maybe that is, maybe it's like well-being, but I don't think that's been very accessible to everyone. I don't think that's very known to everyone that there is someone to go to, because I personally wouldn't know where to start if I wanted to bring up that conversation.
I teach physiotherapy students and it's majority white female. We have a high entry criteria which I'm really trying to see if we can lower it down to be and have more widening participation, to have more diversity within our groups. However, because of our high entry criteria, we get all students with A stars, mostly people from grammar schools. So my classroom, it's either majority white, very few people from different cultures and backgrounds, but we have a huge international component, at least 25% of our, but I don't think that's diversity. Having 25 students from Hong Kong or China doesn't mean I'm improving the diversity in my group, because we bring them in, they're the international students, we benefit from them, but what about the local community? You know, what about the other people who live in and around Birmingham? Why are they not in my physiotherapy group?
I see the effort of trying to implement academics from different countries, academics from different cultures, different ethnicities, and also, you know, when you're doing your own research, you can choose whatever topic you want, you can choose whatever essay topic you want, and that gives you an opportunity to discover whatever country you want or whatever ethnicity you can. So you don't have to follow any kind of specific rules, and that gives you space. And also lecturers do support you in the way of trying to find different academics outside the UK. Politics
is a very Western-focused, Eurocentric degree. We always look at, let's say, NATO through the lens of European scholars, like mostly British, to be honest. But something that I've always thought about is how would an African scholar look at that? How would an Asian scholar view NATO or the United Nations? So I feel like that's a big area of improvement, and that's something that only a change in staff could lead to. You know, yeah, diversifying the staff is something that definitely needs to be addressed.
So I teach on two modules that do have some diverse content with them in terms of including perspectives or examples, you know, from the global south or from other parts of the world. We also, when we introduced the Year 3 module, Reclaiming Education, that I teach on, we did try and co-construct that with the students that year to some extent. So students were given options on what case studies they wanted us to include in the module. But I'm very aware that that's like 4 years ago now, so you know it's probably time to try and update that.
I think first and foremost it's important to make sure the conversation keeps going. I feel like a project like this is amazing because it makes sure that this is just an ongoing thing. I think post George Floyd there was a rise of, oh, let's decolonise it, let's make like it better, da, 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 and then that kind of went downhill. So I feel like first of all is to make sure that the university continues to put efforts in, not just during Black History Month or during a random week when they feel like, yeah, let's do it. I feel like it has to be an ongoing conversation. And I feel like as well, just to kind of be mindful that there's always going to be more perspectives, and I feel like just incorporate that in every kind of week rather than just 1 week of content. So I think it's like kind of making it a part of our learning rather than just a section of it once a week or once a semester.